Let her see how that's true.
Welcome everyone. How are you? So my name is Carolina Mejia. I am one of the business consultants for the ASBTDC. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation of beginner SEO. Today, Rachel is gonna lead the presentation. If you are not familiar with us, we are not a one-stop shop for startups, existing businesses, for all the business in the area. As someone asked, what does ASBTDC means? Is Arkansas Small Business Technology Development Center. And if you have any question, please let me know at the end of the presentation. So I hope you learn a lot. I'm going to stay as well. Thank you.
Thanks. There's a sign-up sheet going around, so if you haven't gotten that, just make sure you sign it before we wrap up today. I'll just say this again for everyone in the room. We are recording this presentation today, so there's video and it will record the screen and audio. This bar right here is our microphone and it's very sensitive, so just only talk nice things, I guess, during the recording. That was my warning before. Okay, let's get started. Thank you guys for coming today. My name is Rachel Majors. I'm a consultant with the ASBTDC, and today we'll be talking about SEO for small business. So just a little about me. Native to the area, moved around a lot. I was a Kraft Foods kid, so we just moved where the mac and cheese needed help. And came back for college, so I've been back a little over 10 years at this point. I live in Fayetteville with my husband and these dogs who probably need the dog training services I saw on the sign-up sheet. And my professional focus is really in digital marketing and the back end of marketing. So mostly I do and enjoy all the things that most people hate and avoid. So I have a big focus in analytics, budget optimization, and SEO, which has been really fun to work with small business clients around the area and get to know some of you guys better. And then, yeah, just a passion for helping small business. So I've been freelancing consulting about 3 years now. And it's just been really great to be able to work with so many businesses through the center who might not have the resources. You guys are running all points of your business all the time. And so it's nice for you guys to be able to let us in a little bit and help you out. So what we'll be going over today is, I call this beginner. Like SEO is one of those things that gets really complicated. You guys are managing a lot of stuff in your business day to day already, and then I'm going to say all this technical stuff, and you're going to be like, I have to do all of this at one time, and you don't. So we're going to break it out today. We'll go over what SEO is. It's not just an acronym. Some keyword kind of research, how to plan it, how to start thinking of your business in terms of keywords. SEO requirements, so what is Google, what do search engines even care about, some free research tools, and just some process things. So first, this is going to be confusing. If you don't feel confused, that's great, but I've never given this presentation and everyone's like, great, I know. Like it's a lot of information at once. So I try to break this down. Feel free to ask questions throughout it. You'll get this at the end, and we'll send out a few guides that I have that have a ton of links in them, videos. Like I try to really make it a resource for you guys. And at the end of the day, the center is always there if you want to go further with SEO. So first, SEO, you're going to hear the acronym all the time. It stands for Search Engine Optimization. So this is a long explanation, but it's basically how to work the back end of your site and the copy to allow your website to show up when someone searches for a product or service similar to what you have. So visibility and search results, that's the main thing. So I Google bakery, Fayetteville, Arkansas, bakery websites show up. We start seeing Google business listings, which we'll touch on a little bit. I have a course for that in October if you're interested. It's really making sure that Google, Bing, other search engines know that you exist and that in a way that they will serve you to someone who's looking. So we care because we want customers to be able to find us. when they're looking for a service or product that your business provides. If you ignore SEO and your competitors are not ignoring SEO, it just is going to put you farther down. And so doing our research, understanding where our competitors at, just kind of understanding the market and applying that to the back end of our site is just kind of training Google to understand what you do, how you do it, and how to accurately and relevantly serve you to people when they're making an online search. One thing to note is that SEO is not instant. So we're not gonna just go do all the things I'm talking about today and immediately you're number one on Google. It's kind of this thing I call playing the Google game. So you're changing a title, you're doing all these little things that are basically getting you points with Google until they say, okay, this is a site that people care about, that people are visiting, that is relevant to people, and then Google will kind of, there's a score to it, it's this whole thing. But Google actually reads your website like a human reads your website. And so that is one way that I like to think about all of this. Like, it is very technical, but at the same time, we're also doing it in our brains all of the time, every day. So you think about easy to read titles, easy to read websites, using bullet points, like short sentences, concise language, all of these things. Like Google has this AI that goes through and is like, is this interesting and relevant to people? And that's part of SEO as well. So this is just something that once you get the deck, you can click out on these links. But I really focus on a lot of free resources, especially for my small business clients. So there's so much you can do for free, and everyone's always asking you to spend money all the time. So you can get a LinkedIn Learning account through your public library, which is free to join. And these are the links. I think I hit the main ones for the area. But you just need your library card information, and it will let you log into any of these. And so I really love LinkedIn Learning because they're hiring experts and they're keeping it really updated, where SEO is one of those things. If you just go and Google like how to do SEO, you can find articles from 2010, things that are outdated. Like, you start finding information that isn't relevant for the updates that Google and search engines have made. I'm saying Google all the time because it's the biggest search engine and where you'll probably see most of your traffic coming from, but it is all search engines in general. So check this out, and then these are all linked. This SEO Foundations course is one that I really like. He breaks it down really well, and then you don't have to listen to me talking. You can listen to someone else. So these are just a few website platforms that I see most of our small business clients using. I think if you are getting into business and you don't have a website yet, we'll have a new guide coming up this fall that just kind of talks about how to evaluate what website platform to even get started with. There are some really great ones for SEO. There are some that will really block you and make it extremely hard. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the first things is, deciding if you need options for pickup or delivery. That's a big part. And deciding what system or platform you're on. So there are a few options here y'all can read through later. Most of the ones I see with our small business clients are Squarespace, Shopify. Some people will run Square sites. It's through Weebly technically. That is more if you're a brick and mortar and you're running pickup type services, it will sync with Square, and so that's fine. Squarespace is kind of operated more like a blog, so I wouldn't recommend it for like a large scale e-com or national business. Shopify I find to be great all around really and very easy to use. WordPress is another great one. They have a really easy plugin to use called Yoast SEO, and that's where kind of that gamifying SEO comes into space. They give you green lights, red lights. They tell you really what to do. I think the downfall of WordPress is their e-commerce offerings are not great, and it can be really hard to build and manage if you don't have like in-depth web development knowledge. There are some really easy builders you can use for WordPress, like Elementor, but again, you normally need some type of intervention from a developer. And then Wix. I don't work in Wix a lot, but I've done a few reviews. I will just say that if you're on a Wix site, their basic site does not allow you to edit SEO requirements, so you do have to have the tier up. And then I kind of advise people to avoid GoDaddy sites. So if you are buying a domain through GoDaddy, I would also just probably recommend not doing that. But
Why is it?
well, if you already have it, it's fine. What we've been finding lately is that customers or our clients are paying more for GoDaddy sites, and then they're kind of getting tricked into these GoDaddy websites, and they're really ineffective to optimize. You have to pay for the next tier, and they're basically
$300 a year.
and they don't let you. I have a GoDaddy site. Like there is nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just at the end of the day, it blocks some of your capabilities, and it kind of like with SEO. Like if I'm in a WordPress site or Squarespace site, I can type whatever I want. GoDaddy is basically giving you some options from copy on your website and saying, we think this is your keyword. Here are the things you can pick from. And it's really frustrating. And it is not beneficial in the end. And so it's possible if you want help with it. I've done it before. I've just found that it ends up being a roadblock for clients down the road. And I'm not going to advise you, like, if you have a GoDaddy site to just, like, turn it off and go do something else. Don't do that. Let's talk about migrating your site to something else. But, yeah, we've just seen where small business clients kind of, they make it seem really easy, and then they kind of get tricked into these sites that end up blocking them long term. Okay, this is kind of the idea of SEO. So you don't have to look all of this, but it's kind of a pyramid of what matters and how a search engine is going to prioritize certain things. And so you'll see from the bottom up, essential to ranking and your competitiveness. So that's kind of like this pyramid can even kind of start showing you like what are these things that Google starts to care about. And we can look at this later, but crawl accessibility, that is so like submitting your site to Google Search Console. Like do search engines even know that your website exists? So that's a first step, and we'll get into that later. Compelling content, so the copy on your website, the headlines on your website, your meta descriptions, which are in the back end of your site. Are you giving information to people that is helpful, relevant, concise, and easy to understand? Keyword optimization, which is really what we're getting into today from a strategy and research perspective, because that's what I see clients struggle with the most. If you have 10 pages on your website and you're trying to understand what your best keyword, what your best copy is for that, it gets to be a lot at one time. Your user experience, so we've all been on those slow sites that we leave because they never load. And so with that, you want to make sure that you're not using a site or a platform or uploading things that are really weighing your site down. And so, like, if you own a photography business, this is one example in a course I took. Like, this lady, she was never showing up because her images on her website were so heavy that her site was just weighing down, and Google's like, this is a terrible site. We don't want to send people here. She, sized all of her images down, did the SEO stuff, site traffic shoots up. So it can be as simple as just making sure your site, that's one part of it. It's not that simple, but making sure your site is actually able to be used, that it loads on there's different requirements for mobile versus your desktop. And so all these things to consider. Share-worthy content. So they're saying link citations and amplification. So I'm not sure what that part means. But basically, there's this idea in SEO called backlinking. And so it's saying that, and it's kind of the same idea in marketing of you want other people to talk about you more than you're talking about yourself, kind of, right? And so through backlinking, you're saying that you trust another site enough to link in on your website. So if it's in a blog, if you're citing something It's just kind of playing that Google game again of linking out to someone's site. And you can see that's like not the most essential to ranking, but that's what they're talking about in this. Title, URL, and description, that's starting to get more into just being really specific, being really clear and concise. And you want to be using your keywords in those. And then your snippet, that's a very back-end thing, but it's just basically, it's a technical thing to make sure that Google knows where you're at, basically. So a keyword is a focus keyword or key phrase in a search term that you want the page or post to rank for. So when someone searches for this, you want to show up. Most of the time it is the type of business, like if you're optimizing your homepage, it's going to be the type of business or service that you have. So photography service near me, CBD near me, dog training near me. Those are for physical locations. That's kind of how you start thinking about your keywords, you know. Why do people want your business or service? What do they come for you for? It's always important to remember that your ideal keyword may not be your customer's ideal keyword. So when we're in our industry, we're always using industry acronyms, industry terms that our customer or potential customer may never know exist. And so we always want to remember that. If we're saying something, we might not want to optimize our page until doing some research to say, do our customers think and speak and search that way as well? And then I kind of just use bakery as an example throughout the presentation just to show you guys some examples. But I think it's helpful to know that we all kind of keyword naturally. And if we can kind of simplify it in that way of like every time a customer comes in, they're saying this one thing, or I found you through this, or my friend told me you do this. Like start kind of letting your brain light up to those things that someone's telling you over and over and over again. Some keywords are very obvious, some require a little more research. Okay, this is a lot of stuff, but basically these SEO requirements are what you want to, once you determine your keyword, you want to set these using your keyword. And so if we're thinking of that analogy of like Yoast SEO gives us that green, yellow, red light, if you're doing these things, if you're doing a combination of these things, you do not have to do all of these things at the same time to get a green light. But we want to be doing the majority of them. So search engines are going to understand what your keyword is based on your SEO title, and I'll show you this in a minute, but you Google something and you know where you would click the link, like the hyperlink, there's normally a keyword in there. So if I'm looking for bakery and Rick's Bakery comes up, they're coming up because bakery is in the title and in their meta description probably. And so it's that little snippet in a Google search that we care about because Google is crawling that and knowing what our site is about based on that. Again, the SEO meta description, it's that little blurb when you're on a search page that you're reading really fast and being like, is this site something I want to click into? Focus keyword in the URL. So this is important, but I'm never going to recommend that you guys do not change your URLs or your slugs, whatever is after the backslash of your URL, because it will basically break that link and you would have to go set up a lot of redirects. If you have too many redirects, Google kind of gives you negative points for it. So this is kind of one of the things that if you're just getting into SEO, do other things well, and they're not going to care as much about your URL. Your focus keyword in the first 10% of your page content. So that can normally be in the header, normally it needs to be in the header or a headline and in the first sentence or two of the first paragraph of your website. Focus keyword in your subheading. In image alt text, so what alt text is any image on your site, or if you have a Google search, you go to Google Images, you'll see all these crazy things pop up, right? Because people have tagged their image titles, and alt text. This is becoming increasingly important as more disability acts are being passed and actually carried through. And so it is very important. Anyone who's using an e-reader, alt text is really important because it's describing the image to them. And so recently this won't happen, but like some big companies have actually been sued by people because their sites are not accessible for people with disabilities. And it's a growing concern. And so the way you would set alt text is like, you don't have to say this picture is, you would just sometimes I will just close my eyes and be like, what do I need to be told to understand what this image is? And so your alt text could just be a man sitting at a computer with a coffee cup or something something that explains the image to people. And then short, easy to read paragraphs. So we've all seen that run on website, right? That's just like you're in someone's brain. And we want to avoid that. We want short, concise paragraphs, bullet points if you can use them. We all read websites, like we're all just skimming all the time. So how can you even set up your copy and the layout so that it's easy to read and consume and skim? And then this is an important part. So live text, some people will like upload an image to their website that just is an image of text and upload it to their header or something, right? But if you cannot take your cursor and highlight something on a website, then Google cannot crawl it. So Google cannot read it and understand what your site is about. So that's kind of a rule of thumb that I like to tell people about. So we want to be using live text. And then if you are going to write blog posts, which is really beneficial for some industries, if you have a niche topic, if you can speak to a trend that works with your products or services, all of this goes into consideration for blog posts as well. And then it's ideal for a blog post to be 500 words or more. A few more things important for SEO. So that fast load time that we talked about, responsive pages, Google has it's called a Google Developer Tool, but you can go in there and put your URL and they will give you a report of your site speed, especially for mobile. And so we'll get into analytics and how I use them for an SEO overview, but basically, that's free. You just plug it in, they email it to you, and you can it'll tell you like your images are too big, decrease your images by X%, use these pixels, whatever. It depends what industry you're in, but most people are looking at most sites on their phone most of the time. And so, 70% of your website traffic is mobile. That would be a really important thing to do and understand. Smaller optimized images, same thing for video. So usually your web size is around like 1200 pixels. That's pretty safe. You just want to make them as small of a file size as you can so that's not weighing down your site. And then for videos, it's best to use a third-party service like Vimeo or YouTube and embed the link in your website versus hosting that video natively on your site, because you think about it, a video can be ginormous. If you host it through a third party, you're just putting a link on your site. Blog post again, so if you can focus on a niche topic and you know that people are searching for something and that it's relevant, blog posts can sometimes rank higher and quicker than a website page just because you're speaking to a topic that people are searching for. So relevancy is a big thing. And then limiting redirects like we talked about before. So you don't want a site that just sends people 404s all the time. And then where to start. So if you have a lot of pages and products to optimize, I always kind of recommend starting with the ones that you know are working or the products and services that you know drive traffic to your business. Lean into what is working and what you know people are looking for, where if it's optimized and people are already using those search terms and looking for that, then once it's optimized, that should expand more. You should start ranking more. and then scale up from there. So I work with some like boutiques or people who have big e-com businesses, and we talk about all this stuff and they're like, I have 1,000 products to optimize. I'm like, yeah, and you will dig into that eventually, but like we're going into fall and winter, so I'm not going to recommend that someone spends all this time optimizing all of their summer clearance content. Like you guys are really busy, and most of the time small businesses have limited resources. Like make it work for you and break it down in a way that can be attainable. Benchmarking, so people will be like, how do I know if SEO is working? And I think this is important to do. So just kind of creating reference points for your business. So through Google, it's mainly through Google Analytics or whatever you're using to track your website analytics. But, put a date in your calendar that's like, I optimized these 3 pages on this date. And then you can kind of go from there in like 3 to 4 months. Maybe you start seeing an uptick in traffic and kind of create a benchmark. So if you're like, okay, from August 2021 to August 2022, we kind of saw this number for our organic search traffic. You can download it from Google Analytics. You can just record it in some way so that when the traffic starts going up or down, how to evaluate that. And then just by comparing data sources over time, you can create those benchmarks and understand what improvement looks like. And so you might go and optimize your pages. In 4 months, you see 100 more page views than you did the week before or the few months before for organic search. Like that's good. We want to learn from that. We want to dig into that. And then customer data. So our customers are always giving us free data. We just have to listen to it and consider it. So I just always tell my clients to gather data based on, how your customers speak with you. If your customers are using a term over and over and over again, let's look into that. Let's do some research about that. Maybe they're saying something to us that could be a blog post or like they're the ones consuming our products and services, and so we can learn a lot from them. This can be gathered through word of mouth, just chatting with your customers, through reviews, online interactions, social media, in-store, surveys, however you interact with your customers. And like I've said before, they can help you discover your keywords as well. Another part of this is competitor research. So we want to understand how our competitors are using keywords and how they are positioning their websites too. This is one of the easiest ways, in my opinion. Like some of your competitors probably paid a ton of money for SEO, so let's go see what they're using. Let's go see what their keywords are set at. And like just because someone says online clothing boutique does not mean that you can't position your business as an online clothing boutique if that's what you are. And so I think that's important, just kind of outlining a few of your competitors that are direct competitors, and then outlining a few competitors who you maybe admire their marketing or their website or their language, and kind of compare those both ways. You'll also find that some of your competitors are terrible at SEO and they're not doing it, and if you are, you can rank over them. So this is kind of an example. This is one I pulled from Riffraff. So they're a growing e-commerce business. I use a MacBook. If I right click on my MacBook, I can do something called inspect site, and it will pull up the code of someone's site. It's kind of fun. It's a lot of like crazy jumbled stuff like this, but in this blue section here, I'm just trying to show you guys, like, this is their meta title. So online women's boutique clothing shop. Can anyone tell me what they think their keyword is in here?
Women's boutique clothing.
Yeah. So they're trying to hit women's boutique, women's clothing, online clothing shop. Like they're doing a great job of keywording, because if I search women's boutique Fayetteville, Riffraff comes up. If I'm searching online women's boutique, Riffraff is showing up. And then when I referred to meta description earlier, so they're saying shop from our collection of carefully edited women's clothing. That's a keyword, including dresses, keyword, graphic tees, shoes, jewelry, and accessories. So they know that, women are looking for those things all the time. And so they might have their keyword set as something specific, but they're playing that game. Yes.
And where did you get to this again? You right-clicked on your Ratbook?
Yeah, I had this like dream to show you guys this live, but the internet's not working. So if you're on your MacBook, you can right click and it will say like inspect site or site code or something like that. And it's gonna look crazy, but it's kind of fun. If you just do Command F and search for meta, or title, it will start pulling stuff up. You kind of have to know what to look for, but this is an example of what you could look for. Normally like meta name or title will get you where you need to, but you'll see like I search meta and there's 52 returns on that, so there's a lot of meta back there. You don't have to do this is just kind of fun, and I do it all the time. Okay, so we know that we need to set our keywords, we need to understand where to go with that. These are a few free tools that you can use and a few tools that I think are essential to SEO. So Google Search Console is really your first move with a website no matter what. It's free to have, but you need to submit your sitemap to Google Search Console. It's very easy. They will walk you through it once you sign up for the account, but submitting your sitemap allows Google to know that your website exists. I work with a decent amount of clients who are like, no one comes to our site, we don't understand. When we even search our own name, our site doesn't come up. Like really the only way you can find their site is by typing in their URL. Their site hasn't been submitted, Google doesn't know. There are billions, I don't know, probably billions of websites. And Google's not going to work for you. Like they have other things going on, right? And so this allows you to, once you submit your sitemap, it starts giving you daily, weekly, monthly insights for keywords that users are putting into search engines and finding your site. So you'll normally find that at first it's a lot of your business name. They're using different variations of Bob's Bakery. You'll see misspellings on there. You'll see,
Do they charge for this?
Nope, it's free. Everything I'm talking about today is free.
I attempted this once and
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure I had a scam because they were trying to charge me.
Yeah, probably. They're, this is totally free and it should be something you can do in like a few
How
minutes.
much personal information do you have to give?
None. Like you just should put in your URL, or there's like 3 options to submit your sitemap. You can put in your URL. You can submit your domain certificate or one other option, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, and be careful of that too. Like before this is sent out to you guys, I also have a free data sources guide that we can include, but I have all of the direct links in there, and you guys can use those links just to go exactly where you need to go for these accounts. Because like I was saying to some people in the room earlier, there's lots of scams. There's lots of people out there taking advantage of people who know they need to do something, but maybe don't know a red flag or something.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When a web provider says that they submit to all the major search engines, is this one of the things they're submitting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like an agency that you're working with.
GoDaddy.
So like GoDaddy normally will submit it just because you're buying your domain through them, and so they should do it. There's normally in GoDaddy, especially like, they give you that little checklist of like, here's what to do next.
Right.
It should just have a little green checkbox saying.
Is the sitemap something that you have to create, or it happens automatically?
Yeah, it's there, and so it's just submitting it is the main thing.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a way you can like download or export your sitemap, but you don't have to do it for this. You might just have to claim your Google Search Console account, and that's just linked to a Gmail account. Since GoDaddy, like you wouldn't be able to access your Google Search Console account from GoDaddy, so that might be the only thing. This also gives you performance metrics. So how are you ranking on these key terms? Where is your site? It gives you like really great performance. And then you can connect your Search Console with Google Analytics. Just if some people are like, I don't want to log into all these platforms all the time. If you like one platform more than the other, you can connect them if you want to. So this is what it looks like. I can't show like a real example because it's data, but this is one that I subbed some keywords for. So this is kind of what it looks like. So I did last 3 months. You can see your total clicks, total impressions, your click-through rate, your position. You might see that like, I like looking at this stuff too of like, I see a spike here, I'll go look at that spike of just like, oh, what were people searching on that day? That's interesting. Is that somewhere that I need to lean in with my marketing? Maybe it was seasonal, maybe there's some trend that we should play to. And then you'll see a query is basically what we're referring to right now as a keyword that it's telling you what a search query is. Most of the time you'll see it's like business name. Sometimes it'll be like dog training, Fayetteville, Arkansas. It varies from your business. The farther and farther down you get, just ends up being a lot of misspellings pretty much. Yeah, this is kind of an example of like, if I were looking at Search Console for this bakery, this could be some variations of search queries that I could see in my account. And then Google Analytics. So again, free. It's a tool I use all the time to understand what's happening in the back end of a site. So for SEO purposes, we're mostly interested in organic search under acquisition if you're using universal Google Analytics, which I have a note here that Google Analytics, the universal analytics, like if you log in today, how we've known it for the past decade or more is going away next summer. And I have a note in here later of like a little snippet you can watch to like put Google Analytics 4 in. But they're switching over to Google Analytics 4, and so if you're already on a Google Analytics 4 account, you will find your organic search traffic under all of this. Reports, acquisition, user acquisition, then you have to change it to first user source medium. I know that's a lot of mumbling, but it's here when you need it. Huh?
How will you know if you're on 4?
It will say it at the top. I can add a screenshot. I'll add a screenshot to that guide and just say like, well, I'm showing you in a second, but I'll add it in the guide and update those links. So even if you have Google Analytics, Universal Analytics right now, you can run both of them at the same time. Like I do not recommend switching your account to Google Analytics 4 right now because it's going to look really confusing. Give yourself 9 months to adjust to the changes. But I put a course in here later that's pretty easy to follow. You just want to set it up as soon as you can because that universal Google Analytics data will like go away. So as much as you can start gathering data now of Google Analytics 4, you're just kind of setting yourself up to have more data for benchmarking later on. There is a way to, this is something I'm doing on everyone I work with. It's like pulling annual numbers and like I track analytics month by month just to have those benchmarks, but then also make sure I'm not losing any data going forward. So that's a lot of work, but you can also just like export it for the year if you want to. This is kind of just for you guys to have for later, but here's that link to a video that has just like very easy instructions. And then this is just some naming stuff I outlined. So how to name your account, your properties, everything. He goes over that too. So this is the view for Universal Analytics right now. This is what most people will have. And so we want to look at this organic search and understand, like, if I'm looking at a week, I can compare it week over week, month over month, year over year, and understand how certain things are impacting my organic search. If I were to click into that organic search, it would tell me like most of your organic search comes from Google. It might start showing you keywords. It will show you the search engines basically that people are finding you through. And then this is just a comparison. So if I'm looking at July 2021 versus June, I can see here that, oh, my organic search went up 20%. Like, I'm going to go look into all of my different benchmarking platforms and try to look of like, maybe did we run a special? Maybe did we have some like radio ad where people are hearing of our business name more and they're going and searching, like, or you know, optimize your site a few months ago, like all these things that your brain's kind of doing of like that research of, oh, what could have caused that to go up? And then this is what it will look like in Google Analytics for if you're in that account already or if you're running both of them together. And this is kind of your mapping to get here, but now you have this drop down that if I were to click this, I have a bunch of different options. That first user source in Medium is going to tell you how someone found you through organic traffic. I'm not totally bought into Google Analytics 4 yet because I'm like, I've been using this other thing for 10 years. So, but it is giving you more insight to certain things. It's just different. And I'm like, okay, I have a year left before I have to learn it all. Google Trends is a really great resource. So Google Trends is going to help us. So maybe we have a keyword in mind that we're like, we don't know if we should pick this keyword or this keyword. Maybe you have 3 or 4 that you're just like, do people even search for this? Is this a good keyword? A lot of the times, like if I'm working with a gym or something, do we want to use workout class, boutique fitness class, things like that, you know? And so I will go on Google Trends. Again, it's free. You can just Google Trends. This really helps you with relevancy and even understanding if some of the search terms you're interested in using are regional. So this is just an example I did with like bakery versus pastry shop. Bakery wins, but you can just compare all these keywords and it's really cool to see. I will also, if you scroll down, you can see like sometimes a keyword, you'll see like the South will say something totally different than anyone else. And so if we're in Arkansas and our main business is in Arkansas, then we need to make a decision on, does it make more sense to use the term that's accepted regionally? We have a lot of funny things we say here. And so that's what people are searching for or looking for, or that's what they know your product or service as, not some other term. The other day at work, I was saying, yeah, I was using the weed eater. And he was like, what? He lives in Wisconsin. He's like, the weed eater? I was like, yeah, he's like, that's a weed whacker. I'm like, no, it's not. It eats the weeds. And so you'll see here, it'll break it down state by state. Same thing, workout class versus fitness class versus exercise class. There's a little more excitement here than the last one, but this is where you'll start to see some of those regions light up, which is kind of interesting. And then Google Ads has a keyword planner. And so a Google Ads account is free. Once you sign up for one, you will probably be getting emails like free $500 if you only spend $1,500. You don't have to fall for that. But you can go into Google Ads. At the top right, there's a little drop down that says tools. You can hop into Keyword Planner. And this is really great to understand. Okay, so we went to Google Trends. We kind of did all this other research. Now we're going to go to the Keyword Planner and understand like the volume of this search term. And so you'll see, you can type in anything you want, but I use bakery again. You'll see this average monthly searches, and then you'll see competition. For most small businesses, like some things are very clear. Bakery is a very clear keyword. If I want a croissant, I'm going to say, where's a bakery? But for some like more niche type things, you want to choose a keyword that ideally has at least 1,000 searches a month, basically. If it's a little lower, that's fine. You just might not see as much traffic, right? And so if you were to ever, this is telling you like for advertising basically, but it also informs us of opportunity. So competition is saying that in this search that I did, there's not a lot of Google ad traffic on the word bakery. And so if you had an advertising budget and that was your keyword, you could probably run ads for bakery in Fayetteville, Arkansas for a lower price than some of these high competition keywords. And then Google Business. This is a really important account for all small business owners, any business owner to have. And so this allows you to find your listing on search and maps. Most of the time, if you're doing like a city-specific, area-specific search or a near me search, so bakery near me, they're gonna serve Google Business listings first. Google Business is like one of my favorite tools. It's free, it's really easy to optimize, and it's normally faster to edit and to rank for. And it's kind of playing that Google game again, right? Like we're optimizing this, we're using Google products, we're using Google Business effectively. They're gonna like us more than some people who aren't doing it that way. And yeah, it's just really great. The ways you can optimize your Google Business account are through category services, your business description, and even reviews, which you can't control. But if a customer goes and reviews, it's like, this is the best bakery in town. I love their croissants and they have the best chocolate cake. You're like, yes, that is an ideal review. You can't tell people how to review you, but when they do, Google starts lighting up these type of things like bakeries. You can start to see it pulling reviews. Like this is their description, but then it's pulling a review as well because it's pulling bakeries. Fresh and favorable bakery. And so, yeah, again, it's just kind of serving what's relevant to you at your time of search.
How do you use it if you're not brick and mortar or not
Yeah, if
even-
you don't have to have a physical location to have a Google Business account. Even if you run a business out of your house, you can have a Google Business account and then hide your physical location. And so like say you're an accounting service or you want to say CPA accounting service, your business name or whatever, it will let you hide your actual location, but you will still come up when someone's searching accounting services Fayetteville, Arkansas. And you don't have to just be local to have this. Like, everyone should have one set up. Again, once you set up a Google Business is really good at selling Google. Once you set this up, you'll get emails. It's like free $100 when you spend $500. I just kind of always advise like spending on advertising isn't bad. It's just there's a lot of things you can do for free first, and a lot of the times it seems like a good deal until they're like, well, you need to spend $50 more on this keyword for it to be effective, or if you spend this much money, you'll get this many more searches. And like that can be true, but most of the time they don't have your best interest in mind. They just want your money. Someone approached, I do marketing for a business in town, and Google reached out to us and they're like, sign up for this insights program that's only offered to businesses who are gaining traction like you are. And someone at the company was like, can you take this call? I was like, this is not a real call, but sure. It was 5 minutes. And he's like, what do you think your advertising budget is? And I was like, tell me what you're trying to get me to do. And he was like, I said $500. And he's like, oh, well, customers under our team spend about $15,000 a day on advertising. I was like, yeah, that's not gonna be us. And so they're kind of sneaky sometimes. Like, I love Google, but proceed with caution. Like, who has 15,000? They're like, Home Depot is one of our clients. Okay, we are a small business company. Related searches. So you do a Google search, bakeries in Fayetteville. You scroll down on the page a little bit. On mobile, it's normally higher up. But you'll start seeing these other searches. So it's kind of telling you like people who search for bakeries near me also search for bakeries in Fayetteville. And you'll kind of see, so I would use this if like I'm a cake bakery, I would maybe want to have that as my keyword if like I'm also seeing people are searching for cake bakery near me or something. So it's kind of it's kind of like you're doing, I call this Google black hole. You're gonna have like 100 tabs pulled up on your browser. You're gonna be like kind of Googling around, clicking around a lot until you make an informed decision. But this is something I like to use a lot just to understand. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I have an insurance agency.
Mhm.
Obviously, the word insurance is our biggest deal, but how do I set myself apart from all the other farmers insurance in Northwest Arkansas? How do I?
Yeah, most of the time with something like that where there are so many different locations, like your Google business is going to be really important. And just being really clear in the optimization of that. And then we were talking about reviews earlier, but a lot of the time with something like that, you're gonna have to set yourself apart. It's not as much about your industry, right? Like you are technically serving the same services as all of the other branches, but hopefully you're getting really great reviews. Your customers are leaving really positive things that Google can say, okay, well, you have more reviews, people visit this location more, they're clicking on his site more, we're going to serve you over someone else.
In my review, do I want people to say the word insurance then?
Yeah, ideally. We cannot, like, it's not legal to tell people how to review you, you know,
Right.
but you can always kind of say, like, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you go review your car insurance service through my agency through there. And then normally people kind of do it naturally, right? They're like, had a great experience switching my car insurance to so-and-so at this, you know, branch. But yeah, those keywords like car insurance, home insurance, you can do that on your website. You can do that on Google Business too. So those product services in your description, that's where that gets really important. And if farmers will help you with, I mean, that if they're offering those services to you as well, maybe they have a template of just like, here are all the ways to update your Google Business listing.
Do the stars ranking really have any impact?
It does in the order that Google will serve a website, right? So they're not going to say, okay, we're going to serve this 1-star restaurant over a 4-star or 5-star. If you get, everyone's going to get negative reviews and you can't control that, right? I've had instances where there was a misunderstanding. I reached out to the person. I did not ask them to take it down, but I was just like, hey, you know, review, like, we hope we did right by you with this. This was a miscommunication. Reviews are really important to us as a small business. Like, thank you for letting us know there was a problem. And he took it down himself. But you can't ask someone to delete or edit a review. We have seen some clients through the center, like, it is not common, but they've gotten like hit by bots. Every once in a while, there will just be like bots will hit people randomly. You can make claims, like we will see that some businesses will get a negative or like some of the reviews were really nasty and they were never a customer from them. And so you can start a dispute basically that you can say, hey, this customer is not in our customer base. We've never met them. Like, this is their first review on Google. You can kind of try to show your case to Google, and sometimes they're nice about it and they'll take it off, and sometimes they can't. So,
And they're slow as can be on it.
yeah, if you don't try, you don't know what will happen, I guess. But yeah, it's still the internet, so who knows?
For my Google business, I'm based out of Little Rock, like, you know, like location wise, but I serve a guide service on the Buffalo.
Yep.
So should I, it's, you know, you have to have like either like a actual address or you can put like, you know, like I put like a region,
Yeah.
but like which one is more, like which one is going to be help me out more, like Little Rock, like specifically, or like the region of the Buffalo River?
I would say both and. Like, you are in Little Rock, but people have to take your service at the Buffalo, right? And so they're normally looking for Buffalo River guides, Buffalo River hiking, canoeing, you know, stuff like those are your keywords. And so I would put like the Northwest Arkansas region just so that if I'm in Fayetteville and I'm searching, because that's closer, right? I'm in Fayetteville, I'm wanting a Buffalo River guide. You come up because you have it's in your service areas.
Okay.
And so you want your service areas. You can even do Newton County. You can expand it out.
Okay.
And I would do it that way. Kind of think about where your customers are as well when they're searching.
Thank you.
Okay. This is, again, something for you guys to have later, but just a checklist of like, this is just SEO in general. I just see a lot of clients not have some of those kind of technical accounts set up, which I always encourage everyone to do. So making sure your site map is submitted, installing Google Analytics, logging into Google Business. It's called Google Business now, sorry, it says My Business. Explore your insights, see what people are doing, optimize your profile, and then take an inventory of your current SEO. So Google your own business, Google businesses like yours, see how you're coming up. Something important to note is that most of the time, if you do not set your SEO requirements in the back end, Google will just pull whatever is first on your website or whatever the first code or text is on your site. So sometimes you'll see something really crazy where it will just pull like, it's not even words, or it'll pull like image text or something wild. And that's what we do not want to happen. Like that's a big benefit of setting SEO, is even just so there's words there versus just pulling crazy stuff. And then researching and determining the best keywords for each of your page and products. And then writing those meta titles and descriptions for all of your pages and products, and optimize your Google Business listing. And these are just a few watch outs. I'm wrapping up a guide that's a bigger version of this, but small businesses get reached out to all the time by an agency who can manage this for you and this for you, and do you want to pay us $5,000 a month to manage your SEO? And that's too much money. So it's not bad to work with a third party. I just encourage you to be careful and know what questions to ask. I've helped a few companies out where they've gotten involved with an SEO agency. They think that their website is being optimized, and it's not. They are setting up like a second site or like a white labeled site or a landing page with a different URL. They're optimizing that. Sometimes they will even, I worked with someone who he was paying a company in India to set up websites and optimize it. And his site is ranked first, but he can't get out of this relationship with them. And so, yeah, we basically negotiated it to be like, they just host his domain and he's still fine, but he was paying a lot of money every month for them to manage his SEO, and it wasn't his actual site. And so it's just a watch out of just be careful who you let,
Is SEO something you have to manage every month?
No, that's
thank
the
God.
funny thing. Like, so if you're writing a lot of blog posts, you're very topic specific or something, like it can be, you could write a blog post every month of something that your product or service speaks to that's very trend specific.
And you write the SEO for that particular.
Yeah. So you would
Okay.
have a very specific keyword for that blog post. It could be really successful and rank and help people drive traffic to your site versus like a more general term or something like. But yeah, that's the thing. They're like, we're making all of these changes all the time. And I said, okay, do you have a log of your changes that you're making? No, like clients ask for that a lot, so we're trying to figure out how to track that. And I was like, that's really convenient.
You mentioned benchmark platforms earlier. Do you have a list of that in here?
Yeah, that would be like your Google Search Console and your Google Analytics mainly, of just understanding where your organic traffic is coming from and what is normal for you. And so for some people, organic search is going to look like 200 page views a month. For some people, it might look like 20,000 page views a month. And so that's where, if you kind of understand an average or what's normal, if you go in 1 month and your normal is 200 and you see 800, for organic search, you're like, whoa, something's working. And you can kind of dig in behind that.
And you would just keep track of it kind of through it in a spreadsheet or something? Or
Yeah,
you need
like it'll keep it all
transfer?
in like Google Analytics or Search Console.
your dig part, your dig it down part, you kind of need to keep track of that as well.
I do that monthly, or I try to look at it I do it monthly no matter what. Hard stop, I take the time to do a monthly look at everything. It does probably depend on the nature of your business, but I like looking at it monthly because it's kind of that idea of agile marketing, right? Like we never want to get stagnant in the things that we're doing. And so if we're able to look at the analytics, we know how to pivot one way or the other. Like maybe we did something in July that did not work for us. Like let's stop spending money on that and pivot into something that we did before. And Google Analytics can be a tool to help you in that way too. Yes.
Kind of going with your idea about the surrounding area. So you mentioned Benton County. So would someone actually have to search for Benton County, or does it Benton County pull from the cities that are in there? Google will analyze that.
Yeah, it'll pull
Okay.
from there. And so you can, it depends how you want to set it up, but you could put like Bentonville, Springdale, Bella Vista,
Yeah.
or sometimes you can put a county in. I know in Google Ads can be like more, it's just the layer that you're at.
Right.
And so, yeah, it just depends. I work with some clients who are like, we serve Benton County, but not this one town in it. And so it might be more effective to just type in your towns. It also depends how people care about searching for you, right? Like most people might not be looking for X in Benton County, but they might say Bentonville, right?
Right.
So it's kind of playing.
So could you put both in there
Yeah,
to capture
you should
more?
be
So
able
you
to.
could put like Bentonville, Rogers, Centerton, Benton County. and
Yeah,
it would
you should
go
be able
more?
to.
Okay.
Yeah. In Google, it'll kind of like sometimes in categories or services, it will let you type in your own things. Sometimes it restrains you to a category that they have set.
Okay.
It just sometimes it lets you and sometimes it doesn't. So I think being more clear in the areas that you serve is great. Yeah, I just kind of advise people to don't just say everywhere if you don't serve everywhere. So people are like, I'm a national business. No, you're not. You have to drive to someone. So just be clear in that.
Thank you.
I just went off the rail here. So if you put, when you said can I use them all? Can I put them all in? Where is it that you're putting them all in?
So if you go to your Google business account, there's an area, I think it's just called info, and it's in there. So you'll see like there's categories, there's services, there's products, and then there's like a description, and then your service area. So it's all under that info.
So it doesn't have to be part of your meta title or your meta tag or anything like that.
It doesn't have to be, but it is good. Like if you are a regional business, it is good to say like boutique Fayetteville, Arkansas, or it just it just depends on the nature of your business, I guess.
But you wouldn't want to clutter your meta title or meta tag with all of the names of the cities.
Not all of the
Like
names
that.
of the cities. Like sometimes you could just say Northwest Arkansas. Like this region is growing in popularity too, and so some people are just searching for, restaurant in Northwest Arkansas. If that's in your title, that could help. It's just that's why I think the research part of it is so important, because it's just so specific to every industry and service that you guys are in. Locations are good to have. Anything you can do to help like narrow a search and understand someone's search intent is really important too. Like any Google class you ever take will use this example of like sneakers. And so like, okay, I can search for women's sneakers. That's very broad. I can search for women's blue sneakers. I can search for women's blue platform sneakers, and I'm getting more narrow and narrow and narrow until I find what I actually want. And if you're meeting someone with your keywords to that, bottom of the funnel search, someone's purchase intent is probably going to be greater at the bottom than it is in that very broad search. That's how you do ads to like Google Ads. Oh, I'm over time. But yeah, same thing. Like if you ever do Google Ads, those broad searches are going to, they might be cheaper, but that's normally like in someone's pure research phase. Like someone might not be ready to buy something if they're just searching for something very broad. Yeah, told you guys it was complicated.
What's your next class?
I believe it's October 27th, if that's a Thursday. Yes, October 27th. That one will be on Zoom. That's a Google Business class. We have a graduate. I guess he can tell you if it's worth it or not to take. But yeah, that one will be specific to Google Business accounts, optimizing that and navigating those accounts. And then once you get this deck, if you're interested in learning more about our services at ASBTDC, there's a link to sign up to request a consultation there. Okay, I think that's everything. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And has anyone not gotten the sign up sheet?